All right, let's dive right into Mustafa Suleyman's The Coming Wave. It's a book with a pretty stark message. Our entire future is got to be shaped by artificial intelligence and synthetic biology. And here's the kicker. We are nowhere near ready for what's coming.
And hey, you don't just have to take my word for it. The historian Yuval Noah Harari puts it perfectly. We're talking about technologies that could give us almost godlike powers, but at the same time could pose a threat to our very existence. This isn't just another shiny new tech trend. This is a fundamental shift in what it means to be human.
So what exactly is this wave? Well, the first thing you have to understand is that this is not some far-off science fiction movie plot. Suleyman's whole point is that the wave is already here. It's already beginning to crash down all around us.
Okay, so at its heart, the coming wave is about engineering the two most fundamental things in our universe: intelligence through AI and life itself through synthetic biology. But here's what's so critical. These two technologies aren't just developing side by side. No, they're feeding off each other, creating this runaway acceleration that is becoming impossible for any single person, company, or even government to control.
And that brings us to the book's central metaphor, which is just so powerful. This isn't a problem you can just build a dam to stop. This is a force of nature. It's like a tidal wave. We can't stop it. The only real choice we have is to figure out how to navigate it, or we're just going to get swept away.
So that leads us to the central challenge, right? If this wave really is unstoppable, how on earth do we manage the absolutely immense risks that come with it? This is what the book calls the containment problem.
You know, the interesting thing is, trying to contain technology isn't a new problem. Tech has always had a habit of spreading. The real issue now is the sheer speed and scale of it all. Once the genie is out of the bottle, these new tools create consequences we just can't predict, let alone control.
Just think about the car for a second. From the very first engine to mass production of the Model T, it took about 50 years. 50! That slow, generational rollout gave society decades to adapt. We had time to build roads, create traffic laws, invent things like stop signs and seatbelts. We just don't have that luxury this time around.
Not even close. What you're seeing here, this number, it represents the improvement in transistor power just since the 1970s. It's a rate of change that is so fast, so exponential, it's kind of hard for our brains to even wrap around. The book calls it turbo proliferation. There is no 50-year grace period anymore.
And look, even when we try our absolute hardest to contain a technology, it's incredibly difficult. Think about nuclear weapons. We have spent trillions of dollars, created massive global treaties, all to keep them in check. And yet, we've had terrifying close calls. Back in 1961, a B-52 bomber literally fell apart in the air and dropped an armed hydrogen bomb over North Carolina. The only thing that prevented a catastrophe was a single, simple, low-voltage switch. We got lucky. That's it.
And this new wave is even harder to contain for 4 big reasons. First, asymmetry. A small group or even one person can now have a massive destructive impact. Second, hyperevolution. It's changing way faster than we can possibly react. Third, omni-use. It's not locked away in a military silo, it's everywhere. And finally, autonomy. These tools are starting to make their own decisions without us in the loop.
So all of this is building to what Suleyman calls the great dilemma of the 21st century. We're basically being backed into a corner, and we're faced with a terrible choice that has no easy way out.
And here's the dilemma. It's not a simple choice between good tech and bad tech. The argument is that any path we take, whether we go full speed ahead with development or try to slam on the brakes, could lead to an absolutely terrible outcome. We're well and truly caught between a rock and a hard place.
Let me break down this impossible choice for you. On one hand, you've got catastrophe. If this technology spreads without any controls, a bad actor could unleash a designer pandemic or an army of killer drones. But on the other hand, you've got dystopia. Because the only way to truly guarantee containment would be to build a global surveillance state that watches everyone and everything all the time, crushing freedom and open society as we know it.
So the question becomes, wow, if opening the box leads to catastrophe and locking it tight leads to dystopia, what on earth are we supposed to do? Is there any hope at all? Is there another way forward?
Well, according to Suleyman, there is. But it is not a simple fix. It's not a silver bullet. It's a difficult, narrow path that we have to learn to walk, right between those two awful extremes.
This path requires what you could call a defense in depth. First,
We have to build safety, ethics, and even off switches right into the code from day one. Second, we need independent groups, like an AI audit authority, to check these systems and hold their creators accountable. Third, we need to strategically use choke points, like the supply of the most advanced computer chips, to slow things down just enough to give us time to think. And finally, and this is huge, we have to build global alliances to agree on safety standards because this problem is way too big for any one country to solve alone.
And this might be the most critical takeaway of all. There's no finish line. There's no moment where we can say, okay, we've solved it. Containment is a constant process of balancing. It's a verb, not a noun. It's going to require non-stop vigilance, constant adaptation, and a global commitment to staying on that narrow path, one step at a time, forever.
Which leaves us right here with the ultimate question. The coming wave is here. Its power is almost beyond comprehension. We have a framework, a narrow path to try and walk, but do we, as a species, have the collective wisdom and foresight and the ability to cooperate to steer this incredible new force, or is it going to end up steering us? The answer to that question is going to define the entire future of humanity,